there, Seamus. Hello.
Hi, Robyn.
How are you doing, Seamus?
I'm doing well. It's warm here.
It's warm here too. Well, welcome back. I'm happy to talk to you today, Seamus, on our Artful Awareness project. Um, you are in the middle of this could I say, huge portrait pop project. And so today's topic, I just wanted to just talk to you a little bit about what you're working on. And the other day you made a comment about kind of, is that appropriate, being in the thick of it, of this portrait commission, and just wanted to hear from you. What does that mean? What are the challenges that you're facing, like in this moment? You were painting earlier today, is that right? And just to hear kind of where your head is at in that.
Good. It's a good question, a good topic. And I just want to say just quickly hi to Victoria and Mark.
Hello.
Thanks for joining. Yes, so I texted you the other day when I was working on this because it had crossed my mind of, let's say, comparing what people might perceive of an artist's life versus the actual artist's life.
Ah, absolutely.
And so the point was I was working on the details of the face. It's still not done, but it's a lot further along. And what I mentioned is how much of a struggle it is, at least for me. I mean, some people maybe there are like it all flows off like doing nothing, but for me, it's actually pretty intense. It's like an intense experience of something like I kind of like in my own mind. Okay, so I get this mindset. I got to get it right. But beyond that, if in this case it's a commission, so it's likeness. It's important that it looks like the person, and I tend to get them to look pretty much like the person. But to get them to look like the person, it gets down to fractions of an inch. So let's say the corners of the eyes, the angle of where they fall, the distance right in here between the eyes, the distance from the bottom of the eyebrow to the top of the eyelid, right? The distance from the bottom of the eyelid to the tip of the nose here to this. Like I'm talking like 16ths of an inch.
I believe it.
Get it that? Anyway, you get the idea. It's intense for me.
Sounds like, is that the minutia? Is that the right word?
Yeah. Well, and if I'm working with brushes that are relatively big, or even if they're like small, even when I get down, let's say working on a pupil, right, an eyelid or a pupil, even then, to get that piece of paint, the right color, the right temperature, the right size, and the exact spot where it belongs.
Yeah. So I'm like, are you I imagine you try, and because if you're in this for the long haul, you have this very large project of, it just takes time to create this portrait, all the layers, the complexity, and it sounds stressful. Like, how do you like endure through this long process and the stress of, I mean, do you feel stressed when you're like making these decisions and trying to put the paint in the right place? Like, what is it like for you as the painter?
It's interesting, and this gets back to this whole idea of artful awareness that we started this whole thing of. Thanks, Mark. I got your comment. Artful awareness. So let's say bring awareness to this. That's actually, I think, why I made that comment. It's like, can I be aware of my own tension or anxiety while I'm working?
Yeah.
Things. So do I let the tension take over, or do I even have little practices to take a step back, which is literally what I do. So it's like, okay, sometimes I'll set a timer for like 20 minutes, I'll for 20, and then make sure to step back. Or other times it's like, okay, that's enough. And sometimes be as short as like 5 minutes to make get up off my chair and back, or maybe I'm going to go get my coffee or something like that. to break the habit of going down a tunnel of tension or anxiety, because the nervous system seems to have this tendency to just feed on itself. So it's almost like a child in a temper tantrum or whatever. Once the nervous system takes over, gone, right? So it's remembering, okay, yeah, this is challenging because it's got to be precise, and that leads to for me, leads to a certain sense of anxiety. So to make sure that I'm not falling prey to my own anxiety as much as I can, remember to take a break. Sometimes it can be, let's say, also playing music. So in the background, that's not, for me, that's calming for me, that's part. But I suppose there's another aspect of all this, and that is related to a bigger question which you asked earlier on about, what was, you said something about, why would I be motivated to do it? It's so stressful.
How do you stay motivated when it's so stressful? Like, how do you keep coming back when, right? It's kind of, do you get overwhelmed with the intensity of just trying to make it accurate and look like this person? Like, what motivates you to come back to the canvas?
This is really a good question, and it's kind of a bigger answer. But that I almost stopped painting for a while.
Right.
I did very little, and there were a number of reasons, but one was
this is relatively recently you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, actually, it went on for a spell, like the last few years of questioning everything.
Okay.
I think one of the big items is what's happening in the world as far as the climate, which is, a big concern to me, and I think it is for a lot of people, like climate anxiety. I think there's even a word for it.
Yeah.
What's the value of creating paintings, right? So there was this bigger question that, but here's something else related to it, and I think why I get back to this, for myself personally, but then for the people, and let's say for the world, it's if all that I'm contributing to the world is getting stuck in my own anxiety, let's say about climate, and I'm falling down that hole, that dark hole of things are getting bad and off and work, doom and gloom, that's not helping anybody. It's not helping my own mental state. It's not helping anybody. And fortunately, there are some people out there, Elena, I don't know if you heard, she's on TikTok. I think I mentioned her, the Garbage Queen. If you're not, you got to follow her. It's amazing. Everyone got the good news about climate, and she's reminding us all the time to not fall into that mindset of things are getting worse, forget it, because if she finds out, then the corporation is just saying, so we don't need to do anything. So we know to change what we're doing because it's all over, right? Very important. Same kind of thing here of, well, I could just, toss out the whole thing of painting because what's the point? But really the point is this, of we need some other things to bring some balance into our lives. So whether it's me getting up from the painting and taking a step back and breathing, right? Or if I'm in the middle of a protest, right, I need to remember to occasionally come home and chill out a little, because that tension, that anxiety doesn't really add to or contribute to, I think, better.
I think I have a question about that, because it does seem like that stress and that tension can, like, would you say that it can help you focus in? It's like, but that a sustained tension or anxiety is not sustainable nor healthy in the long term, right? If you don't take a step back and take breaks, it's almost like coming in and out of that state of being, right? It's like stress as a just an agent of doing, right, propelling you to do something or to focus in. Like, does that make sense? Does that resonate?
It does. Yes, it does, and it's really a great question, because this is kind of, I think, the whole point of what we're talking about today. So if I actually didn't have this thing of I got to get it right,
Yeah.
would I get it right? I mean, I might, but because I've got such a thing, no, I'm really wanting to get this precise or as precise as possible and still have some, let's say, fluidity or looseness around it.
Mm-hmm.
That attitude is what makes the result work. So talking about, let's say, anxiety about the climate change, it's not to, oh, I'm just going to like go have a drink and try to wash it away or stick my head in the sand. It's more to, okay, I acknowledge I'm gonna actually honor that I am disturbed by this change that's going on, and that can lead to taking action, right? Positive action.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna do whatever it is I can in my realm to foster the change that I would like to see.
Okay.
The key is to not let that, whether it's the anxiety or take over, use it as means, but not to let that means take over my whole system where I'm no longer aware of what I'm doing.
Gotcha. And aware of what you're doing and aware of the end goal, which you had mentioned earlier, is very different for the person who will be receiving this portrait versus your end goal. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Really, really cool point. This is really cool because let's say the other side of this, which you could say, what's okay, I'm an artist, so okay, maybe to do what I like doing, right? And there's tension. But who is it for? And that's another aspect of this. So you might even say that about the climate, right? Who is this for? It's not just for me, it's actually for everyone else on the planet and all future generations. We're talking about the survival of the species and other species as well. So similar as an analogy of the painting, that painting is for clients, mm-hmm. on numerous occasions expressed their sheer delight and joy of looking at portraits created of their family. So I've got my tension, I've got my drive to do it right, to balance it out with some taking the steps back, breathing, knowing that when it's done, when the person receives it, they are actually going to have a moment of renewal, joy, that takes them out of their day-to-day anxiety.
That's cool. It's almost like that, the feedback or the ripple effect of you creating something, and it's like your passion is coming onto the canvas and you're actually sharing that with someone else who, and maybe even their other family members, and who knows who else will also enjoy this piece.
Right. And interesting too, because oil paintings can last for generations. So we don't know. And that's like that forward thinking. Same with the planet, right? What are we doing to, let's say, create art in the world by cleaning it up or, not polluting? So
preserving.
Yeah.
Or respecting. Yeah.
Beautifying the world. What are we bringing to the world that makes it a more beautiful place?
I wasn't expecting you to bring in that kind of climate, earth preservation metaphor with preserving a piece of art that could last for generations, but that's really cool because it really is about sharing something good with other people.
Yeah, and just even on, let's say, a practical level of, resources used. An oil painting lasts hundreds of years, so it's not a throwaway, which is kind of nice.
That's wild to think about. Like, where do these pieces of art end up, and the eyes of which people on the planet will be enjoying them at a later date? That's just really cool to think about. They outlive us. It's that simple.
They do, and yes, you say, and I won't be here to know about it, but because I've seen other people's work who are no longer here, maybe from hundreds of years ago, it's like, I am the beneficiary of actions they took to bring a little bit of beauty into the.
Thank you for bringing beauty into the world, Seamus.
Thank you, Robyn.
Anything else you want to add on this conversation today, or we'll be back soon? How about that? Thank you, Seamus. See you all soon. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks, Karen, for joining. We'll see you another time. Bye.
Good day, everyone.